Hi guys, welcome back to my Patreon. And in today's episode, what I'm going to do is talk to you just about 3 simple tips on how to become more masculine. Now, I am working with men all over the world, all day, every day. And I just assumed men were masculine. I had no idea men are suffering from a crisis of masculinity because I'm Muslim. My family is from Kashmir, which is like a village in Pakistan. And masculinity is just done. It is. It's not taught, it's not learned, it just is in where I'm from. And I remember, because I have like lots of girls in my family, there's 4 girls and then a boy coming at the end. And I remember when my brother was born, I was about 7 years old or something. And I remember thinking, oh, I hope he doesn't become too girly because he's around girls. And he never did. He is not even remotely girly at all. And it's simply because there's certain traits I see in men that are masculine that are just absent in men that are not masculine whatsoever. I'm not saying every man from my culture is masculine, but the ones that lack the masculinity lack these traits. And the first trait is the protectiveness. Now, men think that protective means that they are, just putting a roof over their head, paying bills, so on and so forth. That's not what protective actually means. But the reason why masculinity is so dissolved is because being protective is now seen as toxic. Now, there are lines where protective and toxic are almost going hand in hand and they become the same. But here's how you become a protective man. It's not a case of you control your woman, but the first and foremost thing is you choose correctly. Toxicity comes when you choose badly and you try and change the woman. Protective comes when you choose a very good woman, but there's certain things that there's gaps in her knowledge. She's got some blind spots in her understanding about men, and you fill those blind spots for her and protect her in areas where she doesn't understand and she doesn't have the full knowledge. Toxic is when you choose a woman with all the bad traits that absolutely ignite all your insecurities. You're absolutely terrified of what she might do, and therefore you hold her by the throat and force her not to do what you're telling her to. You're forcing her not to go to the club, or you're forcing her not to post on Instagram. You choose correctly, and then you can just fill in the gaps. That's what protective looks like. So what protective might be is you've chosen a very good woman. She's very loyal, but sometimes she doesn't realize that her colleagues at work are flirting with her. So you say to her, babe, you know what? If they text you after a certain late at night or whatever it is, just don't message them back. That's just inappropriate. Just don't do it. It's not, they're going to get the wrong impression. And she should be like, okay, fair enough, no worries. Toxicity is smashing up a girl's phone when you see a text from her ex-boyfriend, but you knew all along that she was seeing her ex-boyfriend. You knew she was dating her ex-boyfriend when you first met her because you were sneaking around, or you knew, and you've caught her talking to ex millions of times. So the toxicity comes from the poor selection. Protection comes from the good selection. So it might be things like, babe, that outfit is just, from behind, it's see-through. I don't think it looks good. It doesn't look appropriate. And if you've chosen right, she'll be like, what? I didn't realize. She would have done it accidentally. It would not be on purpose. And then you can protect her by filling in the gaps of her knowledge. Toxic is when you've chosen a woman who wants to disrespect you, wants to be promiscuous. You know all of that before you met her, and now you're begging her to change. It's not going to happen because she's like, I came like this. First time you met me, I was in a see-through dress. So what's your problem now? So protective is when you choose correctly and you monitor and help them see the blind spots in their errors and their actions. Toxic is when you choose badly and you try and change them when they're deliberately disrespecting you. Okay? Now, and just to add on that, protective will make a woman feel safe. She'll make her know that, okay, you see the gaps in things that I haven't seen. You understand like things that I don't understand. Whereas toxic will make her think, you know all the problems in our relationships. You know how I treat you, and you choose to stay and to control me rather than just leave. You're pathetic. So there's a big difference in protective and toxic. And women will only reward protective. They will completely disrespect toxic. Okay? Now, the next factor that will make you masculine is a provider. Now, there is so much nonsense online about what providing is. And, men will go to escorts and say, well, you're paying one way or another, or they'll say all women want money. And so here's the difference between a masculine and a feminine man. A masculine man provides for his wife and family and a good woman. A immasculine, feminine simp provides for sex. One will pay for a family, The other will pay for sex. The man that pays for a family and is a provider, he is super masculine. What he's doing is selecting a very loyal woman who's very dedicated and very loving to him, who is raising his kids in a way that he's proud of, not in a way that he's terrified of. And as a result of all of her good behavior and all of her great traits and her loyalty and everything, he's rewarding her financially. That's a provider. That's a masculine man. A pathetic man is a man that will choose a woman and provide for her because she gives him sex, provide for her because she gives him validation, provide for her because he's attracted to her. She's not loving to him, she's not loyal to him, she's not respectful to him, she's talking to her exes, she's sleeping with other men, she's posting everywhere she goes, she is available for other men, and he's still paying her. He's still paying her, and he says, well, I'm a masculine man because masculine men pay for women. No, you're a bitch. You're a bitch. Sorry to break it to you. You're a bitch when you pay for sex. You're a man when you pay for a family. It's that simple. And if you're somebody paying for escorts and sugar babies and gold diggers, it makes you a bitch. I'm so sorry, but you're not providing. You're only masculine and providing when you're stabilizing a home, when you're creating a family, when you have children that they're in safe hands. When you're paying for a woman because she replies to your OnlyFans messages, or when she is sending you news and therefore you buy her a bag, you become her bitch. You're her. You work for her. So if you are those men that think, I'm providing for lots of women because I pay for everything and it makes me a masculine man, ask yourself, what are you paying for? If she's disloyal, if she's promiscuous, if you're paying because she's young and beautiful, if you're paying because she's promiscuous and gives you lots of sexy videos and so on and so forth, you are not masculine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. By all means, go ahead and do it. I'm not one to judge. God strike me dead because I have got so many of my own flaws. I'm not judging. I'm just letting you know what's the difference between masculine and a bitch. Don't be a bitch is what I would advise. But if you want to be a bitch, at least know that that's what you're doing. Don't be like, oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm only here to help. I know it sounds super, super judgmental. I'm only here to help because I'm telling you, this is going to kill you as a man when you provide for women who are disloyal to you. It kills your masculinity as a man when you provide for women who don't love you. It kills you as a man when you provide for women who are not going to raise your children in a way that you're proud of. So why would you do it? Why? Providing for a woman who's loving and loyal makes you a man. The opposite makes you a bitch. I'm so sorry to break it to you. Okay? Now, the final thing I would say to really help with your masculinity is have a couple of boundaries that are non-negotiables. There just has to be 2 or 3 things. How a man becomes feminine and soft and weak is when the woman doesn't know her non-negotiables. You as a man, if you want to be masculine, you have to have a very clear understanding of what your non-negotiables are. And what I mean by this is talking to an ex after I told you not to, whatever, non-negotiable. Or, I don't know, you messed up, you did something unfaithful, non-negotiable. Or you used my money excessively, non-negotiable. How a man loses his masculinity is when he doesn't know his non-negotiables. He doesn't know where the line is drawn, and therefore he doesn't know when to walk away. Whereas when you go into dating or go into women and you have 2 or 3 very clear deal breakers, non-negotiables, she knows the moment she steps on that line, you will go. You stay masculine. But when you don't know what these deal breakers are, and even if she does do the deal breakers, you still stay with her and forgive her. I'm not saying you can never forgive behavior, but you forgive the non-deal breakers. Things like she came late, things like she lost her temper, things like she was a bit rude to you on a night out once in a blue moon. But if it's constant non-negotiables that you are forgiving, you lose your masculinity. And the bigger thing to remember is you become miserable. You become a man full of hate and resentment and anger and hostility. So you're forgiving her for breaking all your boundaries and your non-negotiables, but you don't even like her anymore. You're angry at her. So she sees it as, well, you're not walking away. You don't even know what your boundaries are, yet you'll stay with me and be bitter. Why are you here? Go. The door is open. She might ask you to stay if she's using you, but really what she's thinking is, well, if it makes you that miserable, no one's begging you to stay. So you lose your masculinity when you don't have non-negotiables. Have very clear non-negotiables. If she breaks those, don't forgive. But if she breaks your other things, like, you know, all women are going to annoy you at some stage. They're all going to get rude towards their period. They're all going to be disrespectful at some points. But there's disrespectful that goes beyond that, where, particularly if it's behind your back, that you have to be aware of, and you have to use those as non-negotiables, okay? So those are the 3 things that I would say that makes every man more masculine, okay? Next video.